have 6 out of 8 members here. The only missing are Dave and Susan. So we have a quorum, so I'll call the meeting to order. And we'll start with the minutes that Rick sent around. Anybody have any comments on that?
I move we accept the minutes that Rick sent around.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, minutes accepted. Anything on the treasurer's report?
Susan
It's
said-
about the same, I'm sure. just-
Yes, Susan said no changes.
Okay.
She said there may be changes, but Kelly didn't ever get back to her for the last 2 weeks, so she hasn't heard of any.
Okay.
Close enough. Yeah, pretty much.
The Hubbardston Hikers, we didn't host a walk, but there was a DCR walk. Tim, you want to comment on that?
Yep, our third walk was very well attended, partly because most of this committee was there.
we had
And it was,
five. We
and it
had
was put
five.
together by DCR. I didn't have to do anything except spread the word.
Spread the news.
And it actually wasn't even in Hubbardston. We met in Hubbardston. I thought it was gonna be in Hubbardston, but we drove, we carpooled down to just over the line in Barry, and it was a really good walk. It was a tour of what's called the Barry Plain. It's very coarse sandy soils that they dry out quickly, so it's very dry growing conditions, and because the soil dries quickly, the temperatures fluctuate a lot more than on the more mesic soils, and it means there's quite a few different insect and plant species than are typically found in the woods around here. So it's a type of area that's more prone to forest fires than the rest of the land because it dries out so quickly. And so DCR is trying to restore this to kind of what they think the pre-Columbian nature of that area was. And there was not this place, but another place where somebody's been doing this. Before they did it, they counted 40 different pollinators, and after they had started maintaining this as a barren, well, it's not really barren, it's got blueberries.
Yeah, but that's what they
vegetation
call
on it.
them. They call them barrens, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went from 40 pollinator species to over 100. And there was one that hadn't been seen, I guess, in New England in a very long time, 100 years or something, that they found.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit more too. There were, must have been 4 or 5 DCR agents on it.
4, yeah.
4 DCR people.
And
One
then,
of
but
them
they had
lived in
different,
Hubbardston.
each had different functions, and each spoke on their area of expertise. One was very involved with the burns. See, what happens with these and why they're lost is we have fire departments. So what used to happen naturally just from a lightning strike or something like that doesn't happen anymore. And so the barrens are disappearing. I went, when I was at Keystone, there's a barrens in the area too, not too far away, on the muddy, not muddy river, muddy stream, or whatever, Muddy Brook, I guess, in Hardwick, yep. And that's run by Fish and Wildlife. So they had a slightly different perspective. This group was after water purification. And one of the things that they pointed out with this, it was really an educational thing, because we stopped several times and somebody would talk at each time we stopped for 20 minutes at least. The roots on a lot of these species go down, vegetation there, go down 30 to 40 feet.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
and there was
unbelievable.
more than one type of species that did that, and so that really helps with the water purification stuff. So that's why they're really key on doing that. And so they focus mostly on the vegetation and the aspects of the barrens as it relates to improving water quality, things like that. But I brought up, because when I went to the barrens near the Muddy Brook, Fish and Wildlife was after the wildlife aspect of it, and so they were talking about its prime area for quail, whippoorwill, and other things like that. And I asked, so I interrupted and talked at one point and said, because they didn't mention wildlife at all, but that's going to happen anyway, even though that's not their focus. And I said, are there whippoorwill here now? And they said, yeah, there's whippoorwill in that area. I mean, I grew up right near the canal. I grew up in Wareham, and we hear whippoorwill a lot. So just about every evening you could hear it in the summertime. So, but anyway, it was really it was well attended and very educational. It was really good. Any update on Destiny's Garden?
She has we have a yard full of mushrooms right now.
Not the kind you eat.
No. She has to finish them up and get them all like waterproofed and stuff, and then we're gonna go back out and she's going to install the mushrooms and some more plants. So that's where we're at with that. The next thing too, along with that is that under new business, right? No, not even on there. So Jasmine, one of my other daughters, asked Rick to be her person, just like Destiny is, and she is currently asking Girl Scouts to do a gold award along with Destiny in the same area, but instead of Destiny being more like one spot with a fairy garden, Destiny wants to add like gnomes. Have you ever been to the Gnome Trail in Petersham?
Yeah.
Something to that effect, only on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
She has her meeting with Girl Scout Council on the 18th, I believe, of September. And then she has to go in front of the select board, obviously, but she's getting permission through council first to make sure it's gonna be okay, because we're pretty sure the select board already gave permission for one, so why wouldn't they for another? But again, it would be on that kind of idea. So they'll be working together but not together. So it's two separate projects but the same area, so that way it's more of a draw for kids.
Yeah, those are we know those folks over there in Peterson. Huh?
Cutthroat Brooks or something like that, is that
Yeah,
the name?
Well, that's the
Tree
name
Farm.
of it, but
Susie.
Yeah.
Susie
Yeah, Rick
Feldman.
just said it.
Feldman?
Feldman, yeah, Susie and what's her name? Yeah, we've been over there a bunch of times, rode horses over there, but it's really pretty cute. They have probably, we took our kids, or the riders, we took some kids over there as usual, but then they had a little contest of counting the gnomes, because they're just nestled in, you have to look for them, they're nestled in at the foot of a tree, and they got gnomes in all kinds of different configurations and stuff, and it's cute, really cute.
So, I don't know if you're aware of this, I can't remember if Susan actually talked to Destiny or they exchanged emails. We took a hike out there about a month or so ago just to see what kind of shape the trail was in.
Yeah.
And we moved some small
Yeah.
stuff off. It was pretty clear. There's a couple of larger falls that probably should be picked up at some point, but
Okay.
we'll wait till springtime when there may be others. And maybe the state people will be through there, and that one of them is right across the road they take in there, so they'll probably have to cut that one off just to get in there.
Is it on the
themselves.
main trail or on her trails? That the large
There's one on the main trail, and then
Okay.
there's two that you can walk around, so it
Okay.
doesn't interfere with getting there, but it would be, nice to just have it.
Yeah, it's on, so that way
So,
people can,
they're both dead.
yeah.
And we did see the plants she had planted there,
Okay.
and they were doing well when we were there, so.
Yeah, she planted those late, because last year was so dry.
Yeah.
We were like, I was
Not a
looking at them, I
problem
was
this
like,
year.
yeah, I'm like, we can't plant these, I don't know if they'll make it out there, and I said, I'm not chucking water over, dragging jugs and jugs of water out in the woods. So we did wait till the end and, you know, kept all the plants at the house and kept watering them. So we were hopeful that they would survive. And they're pretty hardy perennials anyway. Like, some of those it's really hard to kill off, but drought, and they're new, that might, so. Yeah, so her plan is to add some more this fall along with the mushrooms, get those in. And then we gotta figure out the whole phone thing, afterwards, so, that's a work in progress, we're still working on that.
And they put a tower in.
Working on your calling plan?
Yes, you guys didn't see the picture of the booth?
I did.
The little booth that she wants to, some kind of, where you call, you know, those little booths you see out in the woods, it's an old fashioned phone and it has a little plaque on it, yeah, that says, like, sometimes they call them, you know, the wind phone or whatever, they have like cutesy little names, but it's, you know, where you sit there and talk to people in heaven.
Yeah, I've never come across one, but I remember her showing us.
Yeah, so
I
she
got
has,
the concept.
she has a couple different ideas, we do have an old fashioned looking phone, it's a reproduction, but
Yeah.
that someone donated to us for the cause, so we're gonna figure out how to get it mounted where it won't get all rained, and we'll have to build it like a little, like, shelter that can be okay, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, that's not gonna need a lot of upkeep, you know, that's the thing, not a lot of upkeep, cause it's out in the middle of the woods, so. Yeah, so she's working on it.
When is Hunter's,
We are waiting for his board of review. That's all we're waiting on. They're trying to get some dates together, so it's gonna be soon. The board of review itself from council, that's it. Everything else has been checked off.
cool,
So it's kind of, unless I can't even see it not going like 100% at this point, because it's that far, like, it's just like formality at this point. So, yeah.
What you do on the mushrooms, make a mold?
No, actually, she has, okay, so what she did was she bought and or asked, like, had things donated. So like old metal bowls and like the bunt pans and things like that, upside down, sanded them, drilled a hole through it, painted them to look like a mushroom, and then we got some threaded rod at Home Depot, and she sprayed it with Flex Seal to like coat it, and then we put nuts on it, and so they'll go into the ground, and we're going to put PVC pipe that's painted around it to kind of give it a thicker base of different sorts, so it resembles mushrooms of different sizes. So, yeah, they actually look pretty cute.
Yeah.
But they're all stuck in the ground behind my house right now.
Okay. Plan priority subcommittee, there's quite a bit going on there. So we've been, Tim, Rick and I have been working on the scoring system, and as per the last meeting, we have got the scoring criteria in pretty good shape. We used it on 4 parcels in the last week or so, I think, and then we've done one of the DeVico properties, the property off Streeter Road that Chris was had commented on, and a Bagley property. What was the 4th one? Remember?
was it the other DeVico property?
Yeah, we did DeVico. We did 2 of his. No, didn't we do 2?
I don't know.
Or just one of his? At any
Just
rate,
did one of
so
his.
we've done multiple properties.
Where's Bagley?
What?
Where's Bagley?
Between Williamsville Road and Thompson Road.
Yeah, and we picked that, this will link into another comments associated with the committee work, subcommittee work, which is trail interconnectivity. And so, I have one of these that is called, oh, here it is.
It borders on DCR watershed.
So we're trying to get into this area of potential going from one trail area to another trail area, et cetera, within town. And so we could take a map like this and color code it, and then just see if we can get into connectivity. So if I had this and if I had a better scheme here. So this is a state forest area somewhere in this area, his Route Road and Mount Jeff Road. So just in this general area is where we have an extensive trail system. And we picked Bagley just to see how it would come out. Which we were trying to get from here, in these yellow areas, at least down in here, there's a pretty extensive segment of trails, and there's actually DCR activity to improve things and have essentially got the go-ahead. As an example of that, the Burnchip River runs right along down through here. And there's a trail, there's an existing trail right beside the Burnchip River that goes down to Fisher Road. I don't know if people know, you know where Fisher Road is? Yeah. And so you can go from Williamsville.
Isn't it Gilbert? Is that where the bridge goes across?
Yeah, that's Fisher.
That's Fisher?
But that's off Gilbert. Okay, so if you go down Gilbert, it heads, east from there, down across there. And now there's access across the river there that DCR has finally given the okay on to use. So there's a logging bridge there. So it'll carry most anything.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a logging bridge across the river, and it wasn't very accessible because I think they must have had fill on both sides of it, and maybe they didn't want people to use it like a year or so ago. So they took the fill out, so it was a significant step to get up on top of the bridge. As well as I think they got some boulders there.
No, they just refilled it though.
And so
It's
they.
back up to grade now.
What's that?
It's back up to grade
Is
now.
it?
Mhm.
But are the boulders still there? I haven't been down there. Cindy said there were some boulders there that DCR wants to get out.
I don't know about that, but
Oh.
I just went across it a week ago.
A week
And,
ago? And there were no
it's-
boulders there?
They brought in a bunch of crushed stone.
And so, I mean, that's the kind of thing that's happening in this whole area and down in the Barry area. I think I commented at the last meeting, somebody from DCR, in fact, Dan, whenever it was from the watershed, helped them find a reroute to bypass a wet area. So he actually went in and did a little bit of exploring and said, and took a group of us down there from that Ware River Trail Subcommittee. And sure enough, we walked in and said, yeah, this is great. And so then he gave permission for that group to go in with equipment and clear it out, and we cleared it out. And so Barry, in Riding and Driving, was really excited about it. We started the project only 2 weeks from a ride they had scheduled, which would have gone through the muddy thing, and we did it in a day. So at any rate, so up in this area, there's a lot of things going on that would be very good. And Bagley is a unique property. It shows up better on this map because it's only got it was 79 acres, nothing on it. It is classified as developable. The owner is in Tennessee. Nothing has happened with the property, well, since I've been here. But it only has 50 feet, I think about 50 feet of frontage on Williamsville Road. So it's got a little narrow neck. It does connect to Williamsville Road and then goes back to a good-sized parcel. That parcel goes almost all the way to Thompson Road. Comes within like 100 feet or whatever, but there's a couple places where you'd have to actually try to get probably not a lien,
Right away.
right away from not Nick Ortolino, Matt Ortolino. From Matt Ortolino, he's got some properties in there, or Amy De La Roche's brother, Claudia Provencal's son. So he has property right on Thompson. And then if you get on Thompson, there's other large vacant land like DeVico, et cetera. And if we could have success with DeVico, then you can get all the way to the state forest. So you could go from the state forest. So there's a pretty viable way. It requires property acquisition, but that's what we're looking for. And but we're looking for places where there is property to acquire. These are all large vacant properties right now. And then I sent a note around. Are you able to work with the group to come up with trying to help find a master trail thing? Like the property that Chris was interested in is over here. And there's a lot of houses in this area. And there is a piece of town-owned land off Streeter Road. And then that connects to Templeton State Forest. So a key thing about that, and it even gets into,
Westminster.
what's that?
Westminster State Forest.
Westminster. The access in here would provide, so you can get a trail from there, and Chris has said there's a trail through that vacant property, and that trail, from that trail, you can get into trails inside Westminster State Forest.
Yeah, it actually, you actually have to pass through another private parcel in between. They don't.
Oh, we
the
were
current-
looking at that.
The
Is
current
it-
trail doesn't abut directly with Westminster State
It doesn't.
Forest, but
So
the
there's.
property does. But it's fairly wet. You know, you'd have to scout whether there would actually be a route to get from the town property directly into Westminster State Forest. Where the trail is right now, it passes through a private property with permission.
Oh, is that part of that development in Westminster? Rick and I mean, Tim and I.
No, it's one of the landowners around Lovewell Pond. I forget what the name is.
Okay.
Starts with an S.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Susan? There was a
No.
name, was it an LLC or something? There was somebody that had a lot of frontage on Lovewell Pond.
Yeah, I think.
That person?
I think that's.
She has 2 properties on that, and if anything, that might be interesting property to explore as well, because it has tons of footage on that pond. But- And that has massive, that property has massive connectivity to Westminster State Forest. But at any rate, so that's why, I mean, Chris was interested in that. But in a little bit of the work we had done, you know, Tim would get up a map. We've been doing most of this at Tim's. He's got a big screen so he can put stuff on. And we had seen places where there were semblances of trails or dead-end roads and things like that. But we.
Yeah, I can show you all those.
Yeah, you can help with that?
Yeah, I've got all those mapped.
So just in this area, you know, we're in good shape.
Yeah.
But if there are other places that we can provide, we were looking to, it would be ideal, obviously, to be able to get from one side of town to the other side of town. And if the railroad were dead, that would be a prime way to do it, but it is not dead. But we were looking at the AT&T line. I know Mike had brought that up, and that may be helpful in certain portions.
Certain portions, certain portions, it's heavily used by ATVs and certainly as a corridor. Certain portions go through yards at this point.
Yeah.
But that,
That's the problem.
and the significance of that and why it relates to the property, this property evaluation scheme that we're doing is, you know, if you're gonna acquire large vacant properties, like the ones over that we're familiar with, DeVico, Olino, Peters, et cetera, they're really big properties. They're adjacent to other things across the river, across Burnshot River. It ties into more pre-conserved land, so that it turns out to be a pretty massive area of conserved land. But if you get trail systems in there, that's another major thing that the town, from everything we know, what's been reported, is interested in seeing this trail connectivity, so.
Yeah, now, Chris doesn't get back from his trip until middle of next week.
Yeah, he had mentioned he wasn't available till
So
after Labor Day.
Yeah, and it won't be next week, so I presume you guys would be meeting the week after next.
Okay.
And before that, I'll send you some links to online maps where you can, along the lines of the open space map,
Yeah,
but with the trails mapped on it.
Neat.
And you can poke and prod and explore.
yep.
I've got, for trails in Hubbardston on public land, I've probably got better than 95% coverage of everything that's out there,
Oh,
along with a smattering stuff that crosses private lands if it's particularly prominent or key, but
So you get 95% of what the public land covers?
stuff that's on state land or town land.
Okay. Stuff that's advertised or non-advertised?
Definitively none.
So you like the stuff down around the Rice Field area, have you got stuff on that?
What's Rice Field?
Rice Hill, you mean?
Rice Hill? That's down near 62, that's, let me get this oriented
Oh.
right. So that's getting down close to 62, which is probably in this area.
West
Yeah,
of
that's
the
down,
Jeep Trail.
that gets down into here, so there are trails right now, so you can go from, we can ride from here and get to that Bagley property, crossover. That gets us down in behind Dave's property and Cindy's property.
Yeah,
Carol's
I've got the
property.
trails mapped
And
across
then,
Dave's.
and then Rice Hill is it's right next to 62. It's almost across the street.
Oh,
It's
okay.
almost- It's almost,
Yeah, no, I don't.
there's a gate there.
I don't have those mapped yet.
I can.
But that's where the trail comes up from the
I can-
bridge at Fisher Road.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's a-
Fisher would come down in here somewhere,
Yeah.
and then you can get up and go over.
Yeah, no, it looked like a very interesting area, but no, I don't have
Oh,
those
there's some,
yet.
like Cindy says, there's some really nice stuff there. I can send you her tracks if you wanna see, are interested in her tracks.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really interesting looking area. I mean, it looks like,
Well,
it
supposedly.
looks like it was
this-
quite a little settlement there,
Yeah.
or at least a major homestead, because there's a lot of cellar holes and
Yeah,
foundations and
yeah.
stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a little dead end road, there's a gate off of 62, it's a gated entrance.
Yeah,
Yeah, right across from the Barrens almost.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I don't have it is that most of that area is in Barry,
Oh,
not Hubbardston, but.
but the Rice Hill stuff is in Hubbardston. So,
So anyway, I'll send you guys a link next week.
good.
You can play.
One of the tour leaders on Saturday said that they have a photograph, I guess it was from the 1920s, from, I believe it was Rice Hill,
Yeah.
looking south, and, you know, it was before a lot of the trees grew up. It was very open. Well, no, the photograph was
45?
1943, that's right,
Okay, yeah.
or 45.
Cause it was after the,
After the 38 hurricane,
Yeah.
so the combination of more fields and where there were big trees, they had all gotten blown down, so it was very open over there.
Was, Cindy says there's quite a view up there still from the top of Rice Hill.
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna go over there in the not too distant future. So we'd like to get that done, because that just helps us, if you have a property that would lead to connectivity, and a property that didn't, and they were similar otherwise, then the one that offered connectivity would be of more value than the one that didn't. So that's what will help us in the scoring scheme. Our next step, and we're ready to take that, once we get that, a pretty good idea on that map and where there is high potential for trail connectivity, is to do a lot of properties, you know, the top 20, 30 properties that would help with connectivity or some of the other attributes in our scoring system. And to get those done, it takes, it's not a trivial exercise to go through it. The scoring system has really helped. So with the 4 properties that we got, and Tim and I did a correlation between a couple of them that we have done. So we did 2 previous to this, and then 2 more today. So we did a correlation of like Bagley to the DeVico property we did, and see how the scoring lined up. And it was, the scores were different, but there were clear explanations of why the scores were different, and that's what we were looking for. And also, what we also did, we did a scoring exercise, because they scored Tim's numbers with my numbers. And then as we were going through it, when there were discrepancies, we just discussed those and said, oh yeah, because somebody picked out something. So as you're going through it, there's little details in it, and it helps as a team. So the process of having a group of 3 do it, and then that group of 3 just gets together and compares their scores, because that's the fastest way to do it. And if you get agreement on a number, you don't have to talk and in detail about that particular attribute.
Mhm.
You just keep flowing through it, but then you get a place where somebody's got a 6 and somebody's got a 2. That's a notable difference when it starts getting multiplied up and added in to the final score. So we talked about that in every case that Tim and I came through, there was a discrepancy like that, and said, I overlooked this, and yeah, you're right, that's what that score should have, and so that's what we wanted, that the scoring system that we have done to do for us. So we'll get into a divide and three conquer aspect of it. And then, so my envisionment of how this would work is each group of 3 would get 5 properties or something at a time. And then they'd go through and have a few meetings to go through that. So they'd rate them individually and then go over those. And it takes a little bit of time to go through them and examine discrepancies and come to a common ground on what the number should be, because that really helps if you get to a common ground. And I'm quite sure that in all cases, in almost all cases, you'd be able to get to a common ground easily. Once they have those done, then we'll submit that, probably back to Tim, Rick, and I, and then we can gather all the inputs and then do the 3 of us will do a correlation of the scores from the individual groups. But it takes some expertise too, so you need to get into, because a lot of it gets into biomass, and some of these technical things, as they've got vernal pools, wetlands, and so you have to get into like Mass Mapper, or what we use in Tim, Mass GIS.
It was mostly Mass Mapper, whatever it is.
But you can get into those, but you need some expertise with that tool, unless you're gonna fumble around for a long time. If you're familiar with the tool, then you can go bing, 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 and find those different things that you're looking for that are called out in the scoring system. Because the scoring system does look for technical things that have been identified as valuable, like vernal pools is a good one, and other things like that.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 things that we really can't count on the mapping for, like outstanding geological features. Like-
Yeah, so some of them actually may require a little field work.
Yep.
So that's the overall outlook, and then Tim, one more related thing to that is where the rubber hits the road. So we ended up with a list of properties, and here's a group of properties, and this would provide connectivity here, and this would provide connectivity, or has this value here, or this has this kind of value to the town here. Now we've got to go get it. And Tim, and there are other places, but Tim came across something that down in Connecticut he found relative to grant money that's available from the federal government. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Tim.
Well, I forwarded the email to everybody
Yep.
Yeah.
on the committee, and it just listed several new potential sources of grant funding.
But to me, just in glancing at the stuff that Tim had written, and I didn't spend much time on it, but it looked like it was aligned to be pertinent to exactly what we're doing. Is that?
Oh, yeah, especially the first one.
And it seemed like from what Chris had said, that there's state money for that too, right? So it seems like the time is right to get through this. So a lot could be happening relative to this in the next 3 or 4 months, because as soon as we get that done, then from my vantage point, then you'd get land trusts involved, and probably several to get help from them to help with the next steps in the process, because then it gets into footwork, contacting people. So, all right, that's that. Yeah. Everybody else set with that? Anything on the open space plan?
Well, it is time to crank this back up again, and try and make the final push and get this thing done. I've been newly sensitized to the evils of having plans lingering around for too long.
Yes.
I actually put out some false information in that email yesterday. I said that the master plan had been lingering for 4 years. It's actually been 6. So, I've got one more map I need to do, which is the trails map.
Yep.
Which I've been pecking away at collecting the data, but that's just about ready to come together. The survey results are compiled.
They are? I just, I'd like to, since the select board assigned that to the ad hoc committee as part of, which, you know, was kind of part of our thing, I just wanted to see if anybody, before I sent that to the select board and the ad hoc committee, to get their input, see if anybody, I sent it out to everybody, a couple weeks ago or so. If you had any comments or questions or, how it looked, so that if everybody's okay with it, I can go ahead and send it out.
I think that'd be good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of charts, pie charts, and get different people looking at them, and get some people probably be interested in one question, and other people in another question. It'd be interesting to get feedback on those.
As far as a way of presenting the information though, what the actual results of the public survey are, was that a good way to do it?
I think so.
As opposed to, here's the question and listing all, you know, the responses, as words as opposed to the pictures.
As long as, I confess, I didn't read it yet, but, as long as there are enough words to know what the question was.
Oh yeah, each chart is accompanied by the question, and they're all pie charts. Yeah, they're all pie charts, and the percentages of what people answered for each question are actually highlighted.
I know, I guess I'm probably thinking of SurveyMonkey, not Google, but that's been a problem in the past, that the pie chart display doesn't truncates the choices that were available. And
Every single
Right.
question that was on the public survey has a pie chart for it, with the answers that were.
With the text of the answer, so you
Yes.
know
Yeah.
you know the context of what people
Yeah,
are choosing.
exactly.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. If you look at the actual results of the survey as produced by Google, it gets tedious to go through it. I didn't think people would really look at it. Maybe people won't look at pie charts either, but it's a good, quick way to do it. And the pie charts are generated from the Excel spreadsheet that Google prepared, so
Right.
the information is accurate.
Yeah.
I'd like to actually eventually, once select board looks at it and says, yeah, this is okay, you know, to actually put it on the town website, so people that actually responded to the survey were
Yeah.
able to see it, and people that didn't.
Yeah, sure, we can do that. So where do you see the next step coming, once you send that off?
Well, I've already started writing that.
To what, I mean, is there another
No,
involvement step to arrive at goals and vision and
no,
stuff?
I've actually already started writing those things, just as put the basic format and, what we wanna cover together, and then now that we have the information, we're gonna have to make some decisions, One thing about the public survey is, there was, people spoke their mind and said, oh, we would like this, this, and that. A lot of stuff, a lot of it, probably can't be done for a number of reasons, financial, and some of it didn't even really apply to specifically the open space and recreation plan, but, people wanted to put their 2 cents out there, so.
Sure.
But at some point, we've gotta say, okay, we need to set the goals and produce the action plan to reach those goals. And that's gonna be, you know, I don't know how we wanna reach consensus on that, it remains to be seen, really, till we start talking about it.
So what do we think about when some point comes? Can we do this by the end of the year?
Oh,
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
If we can address several, points that were made during this, public input, process. If we could get Giacomo's to, provide a Robin Hood supper up at Mount Jeff once a week. People like the open space and they like restaurants, so.
Yeah. Yeah. The public survey, the response from the public survey, aside from just being very pro, you know, we like Hubbardston with lots of open space and we like it the way it is and the rural atmosphere, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of the more specific comments or results track really close to the things that the ad hoc committee came up with, which
Okay.
isn't surprising. But again, you know, we can't ask for the world. We have to get practical about it, and I suspect that, you know, at some point we're gonna need input from the select board too, right? Once we get a basic.
Well, I
outline.
mean, where I'd like to go with it, I mean, if we think we have something that's workable, I'd like to finish the complete draft. You know, draft of the
Yeah.
complete plan, fire it off simultaneously to Melissa and town boards. Which is what they.
That's what we did last time.
That's what we did last time, and that's pretty much what they expect.
Yeah.
You know, they're willing to Melissa's willing to run her review of the plan before final input has
Yeah.
been obtained from town board sign-offs. So that, I mean, I'd like that to be our goal, is to have a final draft plan, before Christmas.
Yeah, well, put a stake in the ground and let's do it. It's very, I don't think it's gonna be hard to do. A lot of the things that people want are, some of them are already in process. You know, trail interconnectivity thing for one.
That was a big one.
So that's where we are.
Good.
So I'll go ahead and send those off to the public survey results off to folks so they can see,
Okay.
because that's been a month and a half now since it was finalized.
Okay. All set on that? New business. I had sent around an email on this thing called Massachusetts Regional Trails Coalition, which is a sort of a dream that Dick O'Brien's trying to put together. And the idea is good, and it correlates to the work that Rick, Tim, and I and the committee is doing relative to trail connectivity within Hubbardston. And we're looking, when we look at it too, we look beyond Hubbardston, so we're looking at other town things too. So like over in the area that we're familiar with, there's a ways to get across the Burn Shirt, at least on foot or with a horse. You have to walk through the water a little.
North of Williamsville Pond?
What?
North of Williamsville Pond?
Yes.
There's a foreign location?
Yep, right, almost right exactly at the
Yeah, I think you've been there.
Templeton
town line.
Yeah, Templeton.
Yeah,
Line.
remember you marked that stone that was in the swamp? One of the corners of the town? Wasn't
This
it
is
you that
show.
found all the corners of the town? Yeah.
Yeah, some guy did, yeah.
So there's one place where the water's only, and right now, which is, the water isn't shallow, but, so it's a good representation of what you might find. Water's about 12 to 14 inches deep for the but it's only about 20 feet across. And then that gets you over to the rail trail, and then that's a big deal, because then from the rail trail, you can go all the way to Barry, and beyond. And then if you go north, you can get, all the way up in Baldwinville and
All the way to
Bur-
New Hampshire.
Birchill Dam, and if you get into that area, then you can go all the way to New Hampshire. And so over on the area that where Mark took us for a walk, you know, so we have some trail information over there. We were looking at connectivity, so that would be another thing to capture on here, if there's any other properties of interest related to facilitating that or adding to it. You can get to the Mid-State Trail and the Wachusett Mountain, and so those are the kind of things that would be nice. Up in this area, the property that Chris was interested in, you can get into Westminster State Forest, and you know, so if you can connect some of these other pieces, that'd be great. And down in the near the Barrens that we were, and this Rice Hill area, there's work going on with the Ware River Trails Subcommittee, working with DCR, to try and get access into the trail system, prison camp, and there's a lot of trails in that area, a whole bunch of trails in that area. And so there's a lot going on. But anyway, so his concept is good. But he started this, I think, well over a year ago when he first mentioned it to me, where I first heard about it. And I didn't hear anything till I got an email today. And there's a lot of names on it, but per Mark's comment, you know, asking for $400,000
Mini rant.
to do some planning, from my perspective.
But well done.
Mini rant.
From my
Understated.
Understand.
Four and
I'm sure you were wondering what I really thought.
So you were a little vague, but vague is not one of your attributes, Mark. The now you lost it. Oh, $400,000. I mean, from my perspective, it involves exactly what we're doing, I think. You know, granted, once we get this done and once we score, then, you know, we need to pull in land trusts and stuff, but I'm not sure how he's gonna spend the $400,000 and why he needs that much money, but, because from my perspective, it's what's different from what we're doing, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's talking about a whole marketing effort for this regional identity of whatever you wanna call it. Not North Quabbin, but, anyway.
The what, the Montezuma?
The Montezuma region.
Coalition?
You know, establishing an identity, and, you know, I don't know that it's really talking about a marketing an advertising campaign per se. But that's part of his vision, obviously, is establishing a regional identity.
At any rate, I'll listen in and see if there's anything of value, so I'll represent us at that.
Yeah,
And other people can too.
When was that?
He hasn't set a date yet, but it's sometime in the next, they did do, there's a thing where you can do a calendar poll, I forget what.
Doodle poll.
Doodle,
Yeah.
yeah. So they did a doodle poll, and they're getting inputs to arrive at a common date, because there's like 50 people on the list. There's a lot of people from all the different towns that you've got on the
It'll be
list.
easy to find a date that everybody can make.
So when I do find a date, anybody can listen in, I think, so it'll be a Zoom meeting.
Can I just ask who he was asking money from? Like, who was he asking for the $400,000?
Mass Trails, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's had a couple different approaches to it in the past
But
couple
he's not
years.
asking the actual towns involved?
No.
Okay.
No.
Alright.
But the towns would have to do a lot of work. What he envisions is 19 towns all developing their own open space plan or trail plan.
That's the Trails plan, and
As the
then
first
explore the
2
connectivity,
years
just
of this.
exactly like what we're doing.
Yeah,
Right.
well,
Well, probably in more depth, but,
it's, see, I think it's working from the wrong end. I think it'd be better from a regional standpoint to start with the regional resources that we have and then focus on how to interconnect those or make connections with, to different trail networks within the towns, rather than starting with each individual town doing their individual thing and then trying to come up with some sort of regional resources. The other thing, when you have that meeting, listen for how this process is going to tie in with the Ware River Trails Subcommittee. 'Cause if, one of the problems with the regional planning agency that we're part of doesn't include Barry, Rutland,
OCAM,
or Princeton. So you've got regional resources like the Mid-State Trail going up to Mount Wachusett, the rail trail over in the Burnshirt that ties into the rail trail that goes through Rutland and Oakham. Those are really important pieces
yeah.
that should be part of this whole process, and if it's done just on the basis of a regional planning district, it sort of undermines the bigger region and the bigger resources that we have.
When you guys are meeting with Christopher, whenever it is, he's very aware of that whole dynamic.
Oh, yeah, because, well, we will have, I think, I didn't look for other names, but I did happen to notice the chair of the Ware River Trail Subcommittee, Brett
Yeah,
Russ.
Brett was on the list.
He was on that list.
Yeah.
But I had brought that up to Brett at one of the, because I was on that subcommittee, but then I stepped aside and Chris is taking my place or something.
I believe I am.
Yeah.
Although I haven't heard that formally.
Okay.
On the Ware River?
Yeah.
So those people are key people that are on that. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. Brett was not as clear as Mark was, but he wasn't bothered. He wasn't gonna try and chase down Dick O'Brien to find out what they were doing. So he wasn't too impressed, I don't think. Was a little bit that I gathered from my discussion when I brought up if he knew anything about what was going on with Dick O'Brien.
I thought it was interesting that Dick's email was actually prompted by the planning commission, the lady from the planning commission. So she's hot to trot. I mean, they're looking for work. I don't know.
They're always looking for funding. Put it that way.
Okay, then I already talked about the email, Tim. Once we start using the results of our efforts and really get serious about, okay, let's go see how we can acquire this property and that property and whatever. And then that gets into the funding, which is the grant stuff, and that's where the land trust will be of significant help with ideas and ways to broach people and find monies to arrive at acquisition. Beaver Pond, I did go down and take another look at that. Something should be done with that, because that really blocks up. Unless you got waders on.
Or you're on a horse.
Or you're on a horse.
It's so deep.
My horse didn't have any trouble at all.
Yeah.
Wasn't even wearing waders.
Because what is it, must be 14 inches, 15
Oh,
inches
yeah.
in some places in there.
Yeah,
And now it's a pretty long stretch too.
So they've dammed up the far side of the road, so that the water got high enough, and then there was the road.
Oh, it's dammed on the downstream side of the
Yeah.
road now?
Oh.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what caused it. They started damming that up, but it was small, and now it's like, it's a good-sized dam that they have.
So now it's like, when you ride down what used to be a road, it's, now you're riding through a pond.
Canesto Brook Trail?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just after the crossroad,
where we had
Junction.
that box,
or cross trail.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all underwater.
And how deep is it?
Oh,
So at least
It
The
looks like
road,
it's
the
over a
road,
foot.
the water is this deep on the road.
Okay.
So beside the road, they've built, not much brush, but a lot of weeds and stuff like that. So on the far side of the road, they built the dam, and then in a certain area, it goes down, and where the culvert drained out, they didn't block up the culvert there. They blocked up the culvert,
10 feet.
the output of the culvert turned into another stream for, well, 40, 50 feet. And then it drops significantly as it heads down into the Canesto. And the spot where they've got dammed up now is where Steph and I had pulled that out. I don't know if anybody else had, but we had, it's only the width of the table. But to block up where the culvert drains out. So from looking at it, my perspective, they've done this before, and there's nothing to stop them from doing it again. And
Right.
because if you take it out, they're just gonna put it back in. So there's not a cage solution to that. What I see as a solution to that would take the output of the culvert and get about 40 feet of double wall HDB culvert. And then that would bring it to a point where, so the stream is at this level and the pitch isn't very much, but it rolls along pretty good, but it's a relatively shallow pitch. And then at about 35 feet or so, then it drops down 5 or 6 feet and broadens out. So it would be a major effort, not that they couldn't do it, but it would be a major effort to build downstream a dam to block it if we go, 5 to 10 feet past where they've got it blocked now. So I took a rough measurement, and I think it could be done with 2 pieces of HDPE culvert, and I think 12 inches would be pretty sufficient, so that'll carry a lot of water. Run that into the existing culvert, right through the stream bed that used to be there, and just take the dam apart, because this is what I've seen in some of these BEVA solutions. Take the dam apart down to the level that you would like to see the water at, where the stream normally took it. Lay the pipe right in that, and either throw the stuff back in, or the beavers may try to block that up again. But that would be carrying out and essentially be a little bit like a waterfall, because it'd be, the ground below it is at that point 5, 6, 7, 8 feet below the outflow of the pipe. I mean,
We're gonna
I'm
need a
glad to go
splash
down.
pad.
What's that?
We're gonna need a splash pad.
What'd you say?
We're going to need a splash pad with
Oh.
at the outlet of that pipe.
splash pad?
Splash pad?
Yes.
To stop
So
the
you don't
erosion.
erosion.
Yeah.
Why? To soften the noise?
No.
The
for
erosion.
The erosion
So
and
wait-
then the down, it's all rock.
Oh, it's all rock?
It's all rocky there. Yeah.
There used to be, I think, there used to be some sort of something there, cause there's stone walls built up.
Yeah,
and-
that was a mill.
Yeah, and
Huh.
so there's a lot of that
Yeah, no,
slatish type broken off
any
rock.
erosion would have already taken place. When we've gone through and opened it up when it had been blocked up before, there was tons of water coming through that culvert and stream and then just splashing down into the burn church. So that's not an issue.
So in effect, you can't get to
Hopefully
Canesta.
the Canesta.
You can't-
Yeah.
What's
That
that?
would, that would be a really long.
You said it was going into the burn
Well,
We'll
drill-
You can't afford that
We'll
culvert.
drill through the hill.
It looks like we got a gold mine going here.
But I mean, in effect, you can't, if you're not on a horse or
Oh,
a
yeah,
boat,
no, you can't walk through that.
get from
And it's gross water now.
from that side of the
Well, and then the-
property over to Mill Pond Trail, so.
And then the next step, which I put a little bit of detail on, I sent around, maybe 2 months ago, different ideas that people have done relative to the pond side. Because we have a pretty small, and you guess if you stretch your imagination, trapezoid or something, but we have a little bit of a structure that was protecting the opening to the culvert. I think there's a guy named Callahan that runs some sort of beaver solution company, and he's a big advocate of the trapezoidal solutions, but they need to be bigger than what we've got. So you go out at an angle and then you bring it back together further out. And I from my take, that'd be the least expensive, and it wouldn't hurt to try that as the second solution. But the first thing is to get the water level down so you're not in chest-deep water
It's just swimming.
on the other side.
Yeah.
So, and I think if I go down there with a tractor, I can't get in where we would put that pipe, but I think I can clean out, so we get the culvert, the existing culvert cleaned out. I think I can reach in there with the hoe and the thumb and pull out inside there, because there's just tons of debris
On
in.
the upstream side?
Yeah, because that needs to get cleaned out. Just fixing the downstream side will help a lot to be able to work, because that'll lower the water level 16 inches by itself. And then that'll facilitate being a little bit more reasonable working on the upstream side if that water level is only 30 inches deep and not 48 inches or something deep.
Has there also been flooding over the cross trail?
Yeah,
In that area?
no,
No.
no.
Not like
Not
yet.
like it had before.
Not at all, actually. It's
Before,
Little
that
trickle.
was real serious.
Yeah, I remember that.
Remember that? Where, just like even with us, that's where it was actually pretty dangerous, at that one culvert that's down 8 feet
Yeah.
below the trail level. If you were walking or riding that and you didn't realize it was an 8-foot drop, you could all of a sudden taking a swim.
Yeah, because it was all just
Because
the
on
same
either
level
side of that,
water.
it was just a drop.
Right, right.
No, that hasn't, no water across.
Not yet.
So,
But everything got washed out from all the rains. All the trails are just, ugh.
where it has washed out is the Canesto Trail.
Yeah.
Because water had overflown, particularly when you had the torrential rains. The water was already up at road level, and so then it just was a torrent going down to the stone culvert that got fixed. And that's okay now. And so there wasn't a problem at that point. All the water and all the washout came from the main pond and washed out the Canesto Trail headed down to that point.
Yeah.
That's pretty rocky through there. And, that'd be another thing down the road a little bit to see if we can fix up some of these things. But that'd be another project and maybe something for a grant to try and fix up some of the trails. At any rate, I looked up, if anybody wants to comment on an alternative solution, that's what I think we need to do. And 2 pieces of 20-foot culvert, that's what those size pipes come in. They come in 20-foot sections. They're 225, approximately 225 each. And then one thing I gotta explore, I know Callahan's comments are that beavers don't touch the outflow side of a culvert, but I've got some welded wire mesh.
But they did in this case.
Huh?
But they did in this case.
Well, they
no,
went
no,
downstream.
not really.
No, they went
no.
downstream and blocked
No,
it
they
up.
blocked up another stream.
No,
The
this-
blockage isn't at the outflow of the culvert. So it's a culvert, and then it turned into a stream again,
Right.
and they blocked up that stream 40 feet
yeah.
away.
And not the actual,
They didn't block up the
pipe.
culvert itself.
Well, I'm pretty sure they did last time. That, the whole thing was full. Remember that?
Oh, no, but that was only stuff because it flowed into the culvert. But there's a mechanical reason, which maybe the beavers are smart enough, or instinctively enough now, is when they're plugging the uphill side, water flow helps them. First they put big stuff in, and so the big stuff gets carried, there's water flowing through the culvert, and so when we were taking those apart, I mean, you'd find stuff 4 inches in diameter as initial pieces, and some 8 feet long. So those big pieces go in, and then they get stuck because they won't go all the way through the culvert, or they go in at an angle and hit the side of the culvert and stop.
Mm.
And then they use smaller stuff and smaller stuff and smaller stuff. And the final thing is when they, I think they go down and splash the mud and just get stuff to come up and block it. So I don't know, we wanna, anybody got a solution for the downhill side? Is it okay if we spend some money for that culvert?
Yeah, we have to find a solution, it's just.
Oh,
like I
yeah,
said, it's gonna
because
happen again.
nobody would wanna use that trail.
You don't, I guess the only thing I would think about is, whether a temporary beaver deceiver type arrangement would be easier
In that one
than
spot?
breaching the downstream dam and installing culverts. Do the flexible culvert thing up and over the road to get the water level down to where it's, I mean, the water level on the upstream side, when things are under control, is too shallow for a permanent beaver deceiver.
Oh, yeah, with a pipe that goes out,
But-
that's elevated.
With a
and
submerged,
sits at the water,
submerged inlet.
is submerged by about 6 inches, so, yeah.
So we don't have enough clearance normally to do
No,
that.
you need about 6 feet.
But it sounds like we do now.
You should
Yeah.
probably do it now. You need about 6 feet of water depth or something like that to do that, or at least 4 feet, and yeah, we don't have that much.
Yeah, 'cause that
You want
usually
a
dries.
natural 4 to 6 feet of water depth to have those floating deceivers work.
You're talking about a siphon?
Yeah.
I've got some scrap, flexible pipe, I think it's 4-inch corrugated pipe, we could try putting that in.
But
See
that
if we
won't,
can
that won't
get-
do any good until we fix the downhill side. Are you talking something on the downside?
On the downhill side,
Where are you gonna put that?
Just like you were with the double-sided, just put that stuff instead. Is that what you mean?
but just go over the lower dam.
I know, you can't go over it. The water level's too high. Oh, 'cause it'll start to siphon? Oh, I see. So it's here, and since it drops 6 feet over here, you put it over the top and via siphon, it'll,
Yeah. Not sure how we get the siphon started.
Yeah, that's
keeping it
but
going.
I'm not
too.
sure, you've gotta be able to find it, I'm sure somewhere on the internet. I don't know how they do start those things.
Yeah.
It's just
Well,
like
if I
a fish-
submerge enough of the pipe on the upstream side,
You submerge the whole thing. I'm gonna tell you,
Yeah,
it's just like a
yeah.
fish tank cleaner.
Yeah.
You submerge the whole thing, and you pull up both ends,
yep,
walk,
Yep.
keep them even, walk one of them over,
there you go.
and then put them equally back in one side in the water, the other side drop.
well, you're not gonna do that. With,
That's how you do it.
I don't know.
30 feet.
With 30 feet of, 6-inch
4
pipe
it's 4 inch.
filled with.
All you need to do is get it
Rich,
going.
That's a lot of water.
Then you can drag the
Yeah.
line. All you gotta do is get it
8
going.
pounds a gallon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once it's going, it will stay going as long as it's lower.
Right.
Well, as long as one end's always in water. But
Yeah.
Then the other end doesn't get blocked up with mud,
Yes,
leaves.
but it's just like think about when you clean the fish tank. I don't know if you guys ever have fish tank, no, okay, never mind. It's a siphon, you
Yeah.
put the whole thing in water,
Yeah.
you hold the thing out and you put it down and it'll just keep going until you stop it,
Yeah.
so.
Anyway, yeah, just a thought, I mean, that sounds fine to me.
Yeah, I think this would be an easier thing, and you wouldn't have to worry if the siphon, because if the siphon breaks, then it's not gonna work.
Then you're screwed, yeah.
So, I don't, we wanna have somebody make a motion that we can fund this, or fund the 2 pieces of culvert?
So we need the 2 pieces of culvert, and then we need the, what do you call it,
Caging.
the welded wire.
I have some welded wire,
So do I.
and so we can.
Oh,
Because that won't take much, you just need to cover up the section, you don't need to go very far into the existing culvert. So, just to keep that end protected, the culvert is a protection already, so you could.
oh, yeah, yeah.
And then just put that over, so it's a relatively small piece of welded wire. that you
Well, then
can-
we need welded, a big,
For the trapezoid.
for the trapezoid.
Oh, that's the next step. So let's do this first, let's do it in steps.
Okay, well, I move we authorize up to $500 for fixing the first problem.
Anybody wanna second
Second.
that? Did somebody second it?
Todd did.
Oh, Mark, Todd did, alright, all in favor? Aye.
It's unanimous.
That'll be fun. I mean, when we did this before,
When
it
do
was a
we wanna
little
do
chilly,
it?
I was walking around in the water on the upstream side with shorts on when it was in December or something.
Yeah, that's why I said, when do we wanna
Yeah,
do this?
we wanna do it
Oh,
soon.
Yeah,
Susan
Oh,
loved
well,
going
we
out
have-
there and breaking up the dams.
what's that?
Susan loved going out there and breaking up the dams.
Well, this
Get it
will make
going.
breaking up the dam easy, you don't have
Yeah.
to take it all out, you just take it out enough to put this 12-inch culvert in there. And then set, because that's what I've seen them do, and actually, they pack it back up again, but I don't know if that helps the beavers think it's okay or something, I don't know.
So this
I
is
think-
two 20-foot long pieces?
Two 20-foot long pieces?
Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you
think,
said?
well, the $500 would more than cover it. But from
You
the
need a
measurement
coupling.
the measurement that I took, it was approximately 35 feet from the culvert to the thing, and then it drops off significantly enough so that if you ran it past where the dam is right now, the outflow was gonna be 5 to 6 feet in the air.
And you gotta hook them together somehow?
Yeah, they have couplers that are made for those,
Okay.
yeah. Those are designed to be coupled together.
And I think, I mean, I haven't really read it in detail, but I think since we're working on clearing an existing culvert, breaching the dam is okay. I
Oh.
mean, you're not allowed to just go out there and breach
Oh, yeah.
beaver dams
Yeah,
normally.
yeah.
Unless you're
Now, how
doing
do you
it as
get-
maintenance
you-
on a.
Can you haul them out with a tractor, or how do you get them there?
Yeah, I could do that, because I wanna go down, there's a big log across there that, right now it's mostly underwater, so it would be pretty difficult to cut it with a chainsaw, and you're not gonna
Oh,
move
yeah.
it.
Oh my gosh.
So it would be easy to move with the backhoe, on the tractor, as well as cleaning out that existing culvert, the mesh around it. I don't think there's big stuff down inside the culvert, because they didn't like breach the culvert, the wire that's there now. That's not gone, it's just all filled with small debris that's inflowed inside it. And so it's just the small stuff, and it's just inside, but it's all, I think what's blocking it is the wire, the welded wire itself. It's just so clogged all the way around it, because it only goes out, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet on either side and then back in again. And so that's just all around it is all.
I think it's probably, I mean, the last time I was down there was a couple months ago, probably. I would imagine it's probably blocked on both sides of the cage.
So the.
But that's where they were, yeah, they were
They go-
blocked.
But that's
yeah,
one
they were-
advantage of the box we put on there, because we can see, and that box would also trap stuff and prevent stuff from going way down deep inside, so. But right now, the water's so high, the whole box is underwater, so. So that's why I say the first step in this process is take care of the water level over the road. And if we do something on the downstream side, then that'll get the water table down, so the road is exposed, that'll get the road usable. At least it'd probably be still moist, because it's just gonna stop at road level. If there's, well, we don't know if there's any flow at all going through the existing culvert, because the whole thing is underwater. There might still be some flow there once we get the water level down.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the first step in helping define the next level of problem and associated solution.
When I saw it before it got as deep as it is now, which was now a couple months ago, there was a trickle of water on the outflow side.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that too. I saw the water come out,
And which is a good sign, that means it's probably just all the debris that's around the cage. So, using the backhoe to pick some of that stuff out. I know that's what we had done in the past, and that has really facilitated versus going in there and reaching underwater and trying to grab.
How's that cage anchored in place? Can you just lift the whole
I
damn
think
thing out of
there's,
there?
I think there's some steel posts.
Yeah, I think it's
Well,
steel
it could-
posts.
it could-
Yeah,
fence
maybe.
posts.
Could the whole
We
thing be
tied it
taken
to
out?
it,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that'll be the way to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
With the bucket.
That's what you did before.
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea.
Is your
'Cause
ramrod still
could-
sitting there somewhere?
Yeah, oh, I don't know. All right. That's my stuff. Anybody else got anything else?
Bear season starts in September, so start wearing orange again.
What does?
Bear season.
Bear season.
In September?
Somebody's gonna shoot my buddy.
Anybody, is there anybody doing bear counts? That'd be interesting. I know, Ryan, the guy, Ray Sawyer's daughter's boyfriend or whatever, but he also lives on Cruise Road. His family lives on Cruise Road, so he's been around for a long time, but he's a good, very active hunter. So he's got game cameras up, and just down in the stream that behind us that feeds the Burn Shirt, he's got cameras down in that area. And so he's got quite a few bear sightings on his camera down in that area. But I imagine the quite a few bear in town now.
Yeah, we've had a few.
Just ask all the people with chickens.
Yeah.
You think I'm kidding, it's constantly on the, yeah, I hear about it.
Bears getting the chickens?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, bears, fox.
Everything loves chickens.
Yes. Yes.
Including humans.
Yeah, a few of my neighbors had them totally, there was a guy the other day that his chicken hen house was ripped apart. Again, my neighbors, theirs was ripped apart, yeah.
Oh, from
Yeah.
a bear.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, and a couple of them might have been. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that on camera. Never mind, I'll just. Might have met their demise some way or another.
September 27th, hope they do Susan's job, yeah. September 27th, okay with everybody? That's the last Wednesday in September.
All right.
Okay.
Any news on the COVID money? The,
ARPA?
yeah, the ARPA money?
What about it?
Any news on it?
Any news on it?
Updates?
If we wanted to spend some of it,
You can spend it.
where, how?
I already spent the stuff that, like, a
Where-
lot of
where
the
is-
towns already spent their money.
Because we didn't get any notice or anything of what,
Yeah, you guys were allotted, a fraction of what you actually asked for,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
yeah.
But at least it could be something to get things
So
started.
where do we see that? It hasn't been any of the reports that I've seen.
No, it's sitting in the ARPA fund. So how you go about spending it, like
Yeah.
for what I did with the sign was the town got billed and then it got paid for out of the ARPA. So I would sit down with Nate to find out, depending on how you're doing it, what course of action would work best to, cause I don't wanna lead you astray. But usually it's you pay a vendor or you pay a receipt that's already been spent. You know, like a reimbursement kind of thing.
Well, first step is find out how much it is.
I wanna say it was like 8 or 10, it might have been 16.
Well, that's the
I
number
wanna
you
say
had.
16.
One of the iterations was 16. I don't know if
Okay.
that was the final or
Yeah,
not.
we never heard the final plan yet.
Yeah. Now you gotta ask this stuff right off the get-go. It's like the Wayback Machine, that was like a year ago.
I know.
Yeah,
Did
cause
that
it's
have to go
allotted,
towards- Did we have a proposal towards that trail stuff that we were
Yeah.
talking, so it has to go towards that in some way, shape or fashion?
yeah, and it needs to be spent by a certain time or else it disappears.
Yeah.
So my
The length
suggestion
of time
would
on
be-
that was
Yeah.
pretty far out, actually.
Not anymore.
Yeah, getting less so
24.
all the time.
24.
By the end of 24.
Next year, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's, when you're talking about doing outside stuff, that will come up really quick.
No, if there's
Yeah.
a wastebasket to use
So-
from.
Okay.
Yeah, so contact me.
Okay, motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor? Aye. Good meeting, folks.